Today I'm searching for fresh, foresty fragrances. Will these fit the bill? Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and this is a first impression comparison between Amouage Memoir Man and Memo Russian Leather. In this series, I'll be comparing and giving my first impressions on two fragrances I have a little to no experience with, usually in sample form. The fragrances I choose for these videos are meant to cover a specific topic. This is not a fragrance battle. This is not about comparing the fragrances to find which one is the best one. This is about opening a conversation on a specific topic, and it's about analyzing the various differences in between the houses and the fragrances itself. Let's dive right into it. Today we're comparing Amouage Memoir Man and Memo Russian Leather. These two fragrances are chosen to cover the topic of foresty vibe. Firstly, I have to say that I have no experience with either of these fragrances. These are unopened samples, and I'm really excited about them both because I've been really into the foresty vibe, and the foresty vibe is a type of fragrance that I've been looking for, something that's fresh, that's mountainy, something that really recalls the forests around me. I live in the mountains, as I mentioned in previous videos, and the smell of specifically spring mountains, the spring forest that comes alive, like the moss, the freshness, the earthiness of the forest and the trails around there, it's really iconic, and I really wanted something to capture that. Yes, I have actually a bottle of Amouage Figment, but that's more of an experimental fragrance. I wouldn't necessarily wear that every day, just because, not because it's offensive per se, but mainly because it's pretty involved and complex, and I don't want to necessarily be on that ride every day. And just for the sake of transparency, I mean, I have to give these videos some sort of a structure. I have not spelled these, but I have looked at the notes, and the notes on both are very similar, and they feature things as like pine needles, mint, fern, fresh herbs. These are, I can't remember which one is which exactly. And in the dry down, it's more like a resinous. The Amouage definitely should have a little bit more of a signature incense, smoky dry down, while the Memo has some sort of a leather dry down and maybe something like a little bit warmer. I'm not really sure. Again, I've looked at the notes just for the sake of comparison, but I didn't dive too deep because I didn't really want to spoil anything. So just to recap how these videos go, I will be spraying each of these fragrances on my arms. I will be spraying quite a bit, actually. I've learned throughout the making of these videos that I have to kind of be a little bit decisive to also pinpoint the differences, especially if the fragrances are somewhat similar as I expect them to be. But I'll be spraying both of these on my arms, giving a first impression, talking about the fragrances a little bit as they sort of like initially dry down, then come back after a period of time. It might be an hour, it might be 2 hours, it might be 3, and give my impressions on the dry down of the fragrances, and again, finally, my recommendations on both. My verdict, rather, it's not really a verdict, there's no scoring, there's nothing, but I might be able to give a sense of what the projection and longevity is like, and a sense of if it's worth the money or not. Starting off with the Amouage, you guys know I love my Amouages. This one here is always piqued my interest. I was really into this concept. Again, I've looked at some reviews and everyone was really thrilled about it, so I was always really intrigued. I never bought a bottle of this. I never blind bought it just because I never found one at a decent price, either from a discounter or from a trade or from secondhand or anything. Knowing Amouage, I'm expecting a lot of complexity. This one here is one of the ones from the Christopher Chong era. So again, the way everyone talks about these, I'm really expecting a lot. Hopefully I won't be disappointed. In my review of Epic Man, I was a little bit disappointed on the performance aspect of it, and even actually the scent character itself wasn't too overwhelmingly interesting. I don't know about any reformulations about this. This is an official Amouage sample, a fairly recent one I got in a haul, and I have no idea. Other than that, this one is what it is, and I would expect a new bottle to smell like this. On the other hand, we have Memo Russian Leather. First of all, I'm actually really intrigued about the whole leather line, and based on this review here, based on this sample, this will be my first entry in the leather lineup. I might explore a little bit more. Some from the leather lineup look really interesting, like Irish leather sounds interesting, the Italian leather sounds interesting, the Iberian leather sounds interesting. The African leather, which is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, sounds interesting on paper, but it's very often compared to Leather du Désert Marocain. As far as I understand, these leather series don't really feature much leather in them, or rather, if there is, it's not an aggressive leather. It's more like a leather nuance to it. This is more about a theme in which the leather maybe is created. So my expectations for these fragrances and their evolution of the fragrance and the scent are somewhat similar. I do expect them both to open somewhat fresh. The Amouage is said to open very kind of like alcoholic in a way, almost like to resemble absinthe or some sort of a licorice. Then I expect both of them to come out with their character. So I might smell traces of tobacco in here, and I might smell traces of leather in here. And then the dry down, I have no idea. I mean, like they could go sweet, they could go more dark and smoky. I'm not really sure, but I do expect them to be not overly sweet and fairly like a green mature fougere-ish, foresty fougere-ish type of scent. We'll see. Okay, so again, Amouage, as mentioned, I'll be spraying a little bit more than usual. I'll probably be going for 3 sprays on each arm. Okay, so yes, my initial expectations are met. Very fresh, surprisingly fresh actually. So for some reason I've heard this scent described as a dark scent, so sort of like in the interlude family of scents. Interlude is a very heavy scent. First thing I smell from here is not dark at all actually, it's very fresh. There is a hint of darkness, but maybe it's just my mind playing games on me. Maybe it's the bottle that's black, maybe something else, but very fresh. I can clearly pick up the mint. The mint is very noticeable. Mint, the basil, I actually really smell basil. It's really noticeable. Yeah, so that herbal freshness of the mint and the basil, and both of them are very realistic. It's kind of like freshly picked herbs. It smells like the herbs that you would pick off a garden, pick off a field. Very herby. Quite different from the spearmint mintiness of something like Amouage Enclave. This one here is very herbaceous and realistic. So yes, I am incredibly surprised by how defined the mint and the basil are. The alcoholic part, I'm not really getting. Maybe something. There's a little bit of sweetness in there, something like that kind of reminds me of licorice. But I don't get strong boozy notes. I don't get the absinthe that some people are talking about. It's just kind of like this mossy sweetness. I think that there's a note in there that it should be that. I can't remember, to be honest. But yeah, straight up opening, it's actually way weaker than I thought. I really have to get my nose in there. It almost feels like it's disappearing already. Maybe I'm going nose blind already. But again, very minty, very fresh, basil-y, and this touch of like herbal sweetness, kind of licorice leaning. Yeah, it's really good actually. Fresh, more perfumery than I thought it would be. This is not necessarily transporting me anywhere right now. But yeah, I mean, initial expectations are sort of met. In a way, I'm a little bit disappointed. There are some Amouages that when I smell them, like first spray, I'm blown away. I'm completely blown away. And some of them that have this effect were Interlude, Overture, Beach Hut, What else? I mean, I've had some which were really like, I smell them and we're like, wow, I love this scent so much. Oh, Royal Tobacco, my favorite, obviously. A lot of other ones are really iconic. This one here is I think it rides a little bit more the Epic Man kind of vibe. A little bit more perfumery, a little bit more gentlemanly. Not bad at all, I really like it, but it's kind of lacking that kind of a wow factor initially. I don't know. We'll see as it goes. I think that we have to go with the Russian Leather. Russian Leather, here we go, 3 sprays. Okay, similar in a way, similar enough that the average person probably would not be able to tell the difference between the two if you wear them either, not obviously not in an A-B comparison, but if you wear this one day and the other one another day, probably the opening will come across as very similar. But this one here is still fresh. It lacks the sweetness, it's way less sweet. It's less sweet, it has more of a less herbaceous and more resinous, maybe like a resinous freshness, like a balsamic freshness. It's that kind of balsamic freshness that comes from that type of leaves, like pine needles, like cypress, very dense, kind of like rosemary. Yeah, but it's there's no rosemary because rosemary has a saltiness to it which is not here. This is just like fresh, so it's kind of like pine needles. There is mint. The mint is easy to pick up, and the pine needles. Again, I think that the biggest distinction between the two is the sweetness. The Amouage really has that specific ingredient, I can't remember from the top of my head from the notes, that gives it that kind of a licoricely feeling and vibe. And it's a lot sweeter. But immediately, I mean, the Amouage, I still feel the mint and the basil, but I'm actually starting to pick up on like the sweetness kind of is trailing, and it's bringing in a little bit of like a tobacco leaf of sorts. Some sort of like a sweet tobacco leaf that's a little bit wet. It's not like a deep smoky tobacco leaf. This is more of a sweet, maybe not really matured, very aromatic, beautiful. It's very beautiful. You have this, it's these clearly defined levels. There's like the freshness from the mint and the basil, and you have this like trail of like sweet tobacco mixed with a little bit of licorice. As I mentioned, my favorite, one of my favorite scents of all time, if not my favorite, is Royal Tobacco. And Royal Tobacco has a lot of licorice and a lot of sweetness from the tobacco leaf, but it's nothing like this. It's completely different. This one here is a lot more perfumey. It's a lot more gentle. It's a lot more fougere-ish, because Royal Tobacco is definitely not fougere-ish. But this one here, it's really good. It's very fougere-ish. Okay, now I know what's the difference between the two. And the freshness of the Memo Russian Leather is actually from the lavender. I smell the lavender in the background. So yes, there is that mintiness. There is that like pine needle thing going on, maybe some ferns or something like that. Okay, very interesting. I was expecting them to be both fresh, and they are. I was expecting them to have sort of the same vibe, and they kind of do, meaning that they're both kind of perfumey, much more perfumey than I was expecting, especially for Amouage. I thought it would be a lot more transportative, a lot more weird and unique, but it's actually, it's more on the vein of Epic Man, which, I mean, a lot of people love. It's not a bad thing at all. A lot of people love Epic Man, and this, if you like Epic Man, you probably will like this. This is it's a less spicy, it's a less oriental type, I think, because it's, well, probably being a fougere or something. The Memo kind of meets my expectation exactly, almost. So very perfumey, very green, beautiful. No leather whatsoever I'm getting yet. Yeah, no leather, but you get this lavender, this beautiful lavender. So it's a very green, aromatic, foresty, fresh fougere. Yeah, all in all, I really like them both. They're still not wowing me. They kind of like that, really, that spark that really kind of like raises the hairs on my neck. It doesn't really do that. These are, I would say, 6 out of 10 on the scale of wow factor. Do I like them? Yes. This is probably the scent that might grow on you long term. If you wear this a lot and it becomes your signature scent, these have like signature scent potential. They might grow on you. You might start picking up on the very fine nuances. I mean, they're both high quality for sure, and they're both priced as such. So I expect a little bit of complexity, and Memo also has a good name behind it. So all in all, I mean, it lack a little bit of wow factor, but they're still good. Okay, so we're back. I'm back sooner than usual, actually, sooner than I was expecting to be back. It's been basically about an hour, almost less than an hour. I had to come back earlier than expected because the scents were changing a lot, and I think we're already deep in the dry down. Also because the intensity and the projection and just the strength of the two faded a lot. And I mean a lot. Like, so much so that I'm really kind of disappointed in the longevity of both of them, to be honest. The Russian Leather is really hard to pick up. I can still smell it, but it's almost like a skin scent right now. And the Amouage is still there, but it's light. It's really light. I'm scared to say that this might be another one of the Epic Man cases in which they reformulated this thing to hell. Again, speculation. I don't know anything about it. I haven't looked into it. I didn't really hear anyone talking about reformulations, but this does not last long. Maybe I haven't sprayed enough. Maybe it's a sample size. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but they're both very light. And from the Memo, I mean, again, I have no frame of reference, so I don't know how long these things last, honestly. But the Amouage, I mean, this is like way weaker than I thought it would be. Let's go over how they changed, how they both changed. So they both changed in very different ways. The Amouage leaned into the sweetness, so it heavily leaned into the tobacco, or this sweetness. So now, basically the mintiness and the basil is gone. And what you smell is still a very heavy, like, tobacco leaf. There is some incense in there right now. I can smell the typical Amouage incense, the frankincense. There is some smokiness, and that's pretty much it. There's maybe some woodiness, but again, I'm sort of overwhelmed by incense, smoke, and tobacco. But not smoke in a pungent way. It's still very sweet. The way I described it with tobacco, incense, and smoke, it might pass as a dark, heavy scent, but it's not. I think that this is still, you can still categorize this as it's very fresh. I think that this might be one of the freshest tobacco scents that I've ever smelled, together with Sherki from Serge Lutens. But yeah, they're very, very light. Maybe the not strong projection and longevity also aid to this lightness and airy feeling. It doesn't smell watered down like Epic does, because Epic really smells watered down. This one doesn't. This smells intentionally light. But again, the longevity is, I don't want to say bad, but it's disappointing to me. Kind of lacking the wow factor, but I generally like the scent profile. If this was stronger, if this had a little bit more oomph and character, I probably could have got behind this and I would have been intrigued to like get a bottle. But like this, it kind of feels, again, intentionally light. Almost like an offering that is meant to be a signature scent. I don't think many people would consider something like Interlude a signature scent, but many people would consider Epic as a signature scent, or probably something like this. Let's go to the Memo, the Russian Leather. So the Russian Leather, it actually stayed way less sweet. It stayed fresher. It's very balsamic in a resinous way. So it smells like tree bark, smells like resins. Very light, it's so light. It kind of like it's giving me the Creed Green Irish Tweed flashbacks. Like it's so, it dried down to a very light perfumey state. The leather aspect in this, maybe it's there. I can't necessarily pick it up. If it wasn't in the name, and if I didn't know it was from the leather collection, if I didn't know leather was in it, I probably wouldn't even know. Maybe the leather is aiding some sort of it's giving this fresh herbal, the lavender is still hanging around, by the way, maybe it's giving this fresh fougere scent profile, maybe a little bit more body, a little bit more density. But again, there's no like animalic leather, there's no funkiness. It's very clean, it's very refined, it's very perfumery as I thought. And the dry down is light. It's like light, because if the Amouage went a little bit more sweet and like smoky and incensey, this one here stayed light. Maybe it went a little bit woody, but again, it's kind of like I can't really tell, but there's like this balsamicness there is some sort of a density behind it, but it's still a density that feels very clean. So it might be like a really clean leather or refined leather with some wood or something like that. But yeah, they dry down completely different. They're both very, very light. As mentioned before, leaving for the dry down, these would make exceptionally great signature scents. They're both unobtrusive. They're both inoffensive. They have zero animalics, zero anything that could be perceived as weird or as challenging. I don't think these are challenging whatsoever. Are they worth the asking price? So these are both pretty expensive. I think that the Memo hovers around $200-ish. It's easier, definitely easier to find on discount sites. And Russian Leather isn't the most popular from the leather line or from the brand. Amouage Memoir Man is also unpopular, specifically compared to the other Amouage that get a lot more traction. This one here, obviously, if you get it from the official site, it's over $300 for the bottle. Maybe you can find it somewhere, like on a discount site or somewhere, but who knows? About the reformulation aspect, I'm not sure. If anyone knows, if anyone has experienced an older batch version of this, let me know in the comments. But this one's pretty light. All in all, I came in this searching for a foresty scent, something to wear that would remind me of the forest. I think these sort of both do the job pretty well. I'm not upset about any of these two, but I probably will not be purchasing a bottle. I'm sort of relieved because I just purchased another Amouage, and this one here would be another one to add to the list. So I'm kind of happy that I don't really feel the need to have this one unless I stumble upon a great price or something. But yeah, the Memo also I probably will not be purchasing. I'm not really into this one here. I don't think it's special enough to warrant a place in my fragrance wardrobe. I do like it, but I don't think I'll reach for it much. It's just not, again, it doesn't give me goosebumps. It doesn't give me that wow factor, but it's good. They're both good. Obviously, I think that you should sample these before any kind of consideration of purchase. But the type of person who would enjoy these, I think that it kind of rides the same vein as the Roge and the Creed review that I did, or the first impression, sorry, and the Epic Man. So it's the person that sort of wants a signature scent, or rather has a smaller collection. Maybe they want a little bit more nuance, but they definitely are searching for something that's wearable, that you can wear every day, and that you don't get tired of. And the unfortunate reality is that pure excitement from a fragrance comes with high specificity, and high specificity comes with low versatility. So it's really hard to have a signature scent which is completely overwhelmingly exciting, just because it would be very, very tiring as a fragrance and as a scent. So these really kind of like ride that threshold of like excitement. So I hope you found this video entertaining, interesting, useful somewhat. Maybe it helped guide your purchase. As per usual, I do value your time, your comments, your appreciations. Please leave any kind of opinion, suggestion, anything that you want down below. I respond to everyone, and I do really appreciate all the interaction. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for your time. I'll see you in the next video, and cheers.